Hey, welcome back to Vox Terra. So you're going to be hearing a bit about CPAC in the news, and I want to share with you some really important background that I believe other media outlets are going to be overlooking. And that background has to do with the power and influence of the petrochemical fossil fuel industries. And they're going to overlook it because it doesn't fit into their narrative, so to speak. You got one side is going to say conservatives are bad, they're backwards, and another side is going to be like conservatives are defending American values, that kind of thing. But really, what's going on to a large extent is you've got these reckless elements of the business community putting on a conservative cloak to get buy-in from people who consider themselves conservative. And then you have these other media outlets who want to overlook that because they themselves have connections to these elements of the business community. So for this, I went to a terrific website called DSmog, whose tagline is "Clearing the PR pollution that clouds climate science." And their page on I might slip into some of my native accents doing this because I'll be reading a bit. The American Conservative Union. Background. Now, I'm jumping to the American Conservative Union first. You'll see why. The American Conservative Union describes itself as America's original conservative organization. It's an umbrella organization founded in 1964. And since 1973, the ACU has hosted the annual Conservative Political Action Conference, or CPAC. Now let's see if that German professor comes back again. The American Conservative Union works in conjunction with the American Conservative Union Foundation, or ACUF. He's gone now. So you got the ACU working in conjunction with another group called the ACUF. And this someone named Matt Schlapp is chairman of the ACU. Now, here's where we get into these connections I was telling you about at the beginning. Matt Schlapp formerly worked in the D.C. offices of petrochemical giant Koch Industries. Okay, Koch Industries. If you're into climate change, the movement, you're into the environment, you know Koch Industries. They're notorious in these circles. They have a reputation for funding denial that the excessive burning of petrochemicals, fossil fuels, has set climate change in motion. The ACU's board has included prominent climate change deniers and lobbyists. Okay, so that their board is included, what the DSMOGs call them, prominent climate change deniers and lobbyists, including Fred Smith, the junior, founder of Competitive Enterprise Institute, another name you'll hear coming up a lot in what's called climate denial circles. Grover Norquist of the Americans for Tax Reform, and Joe Bast of the Heartland Institute. Heartland Institute, another name you're going to hear quite a bit in climate denial circles. The ACU has historically, the ACU, now there's this Brooklyn guy showing up. The ACU has historically opposed efforts that would limit carbon dioxide emissions for the purpose of combating climate change. Okay, so the ACU has opposed efforts that would limit carbon dioxide emissions for the purpose of combating climate change. You see, they're going to wrap it in conservative this and that language, but you got these ties with the petrochemical industry. That's the reality of this. For example, the ACU supported H.R. 3409, a bill that would prevent the EPA from regulating greenhouse gas emissions. Now again, they're going to wrap that in conservative language. Now the DSMOG goes on to say, climate science denialists and fossil fuel advocates, see, climate science denial, fossil fuel advocates, have been given regular forums as part of the CPAC conference in recent years. The ACU has also sponsored climate science denial conferences organized by the Heartland Institute. They're funding, the moolah. Okay, here now, DSMOG always likes to try to find who's paying for this stuff. Some of the donors to the American Conservative Union and the ACU Foundation, they include here some other prominent, petrochemical industry people and prominent what are considered climate science denial people and organizations. Mercer Family Foundation, $370,000. So Mercer Families is a name not as famous or infamous as Koch's, But another family famous for funding, what's called climate denial. Denial that petrochemical fossil fuels have altered our atmosphere and are changing the climate. ExxonMobil, obvious connection there. American Petroleum Institute, obvious connection there. Charles G. Koch Charitable Foundation, another obvious connection to those petrochemical fossil fuel interests. So as you hear about CPAC in the news media outlets, keep in mind, who's paying for them, and that at a certain level, what's really going on are these business interests that are, pumping our earth full of greenhouse gases and carcinogens through the excessive use of plastics and petrochemicals and pesticides, etc. And they're funding these kind of organizations, but they're wrapping their agenda in conservative speak to get buy-in from people who have no stake in this and are getting harmed by it. And at some level, they're getting harmed by it too. We all are. Hey, I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please subscribe to my channel, click that notification bell, comment, like, support a Patreon, and until next time, peace be with you.